everything that you will experience has an expiry date of 5 years.
You've actually said you want to write about manipulative, deeply flawed, and morally messy women.
For survival, you need to be manipulative.
And
you
actually, that is real, right?
That
I
is
mean,
real,
yeah.
yes. I mean, because
Yeah.
in today's world, you can't live without being manipulative.
Men who are harassed, they should be treated with the same kind of fairness. So why is that so important, especially now?
We think that feminism talks only about women and it only talks about women empowerment. But feminism is an ism which talks about equality and equity. Industry works in a way where if you don't know how to snatch your rights, if you don't know how to talk about your rights, you will be deprived.
Ever wonder what happens when a poet decides to tell stories for big screen? When someone dares to talk about things everyone whispers about but never says out loud? In this episode of Expressions, we have Samragi Bandopadhyay, a poet turned screenwriter who has broken the silence on verbal abuse, the Me Too movement, and so much more. She writes about real women, real struggle, and the messy, complicated truth of life.
Hi, welcome to Expressions. I'm Neha. Today I'm joined by someone bold who's worn various hats. She's a poet, she's a screenwriter, she's also worked as a radio jockey. So let's get to know her and understand her journey a little more. Hi, Samragni.
Hi,
Thank you so
Neha.
much for joining us today. I want to begin by asking you that you've said feminism is all about empathy. You know, even men who are harassed, they should be treated with the same kind of fairness. So why is that so important, especially now?
Because, whenever we talk about feminism, I think generally we don't acknowledge the real theory behind it. We think that feminism talks only about women and it only talks about women empowerment. But feminism is an ism which talks about equality and equity. So I think feminism is not about only negating other cultures or other gender. It's about including. Feminism talks about inclusion, not about negation or exclusions. Because otherwise, what is happening is that feminism is getting marginalized in the society.
Yeah.
People think that feminism is something which will, disrupt family, which will disrupt relationship. So some strange taboo and takma is there on feminism.
I agree.
So I think that is the reason I really think that feminism should be talked about in more empathetic way and how it actually talks about inclusion. And that is the reason I think that fairness to men is also important, because it's not fairness to men, fairness to any gender.
Yes.
So it talks about inclusion, equality and equity from the perspective of all the genders. That is what feminism does. No gender will get empowered by
both-
negating
yeah,
other genders.
I agree.
Empowerment is only possible when all the genders will be
Yeah.
empowered together
Yeah.
and they will be able to recognize, acknowledge, respect each other.
I'd like to talk about your work with Lajja. I think you contributed to the screenwriting and the script in that movie. So can you share a little more about that?
Yeah, Lodja is something I'm really proud of,
Yeah.
because Lodja is a web series. It was conceived by me,
Yeah.
because it is a web series based on the topic verbal abuse. So verbal abuse is also something which I'm researching for my PhD. So I'm working on linguistic abuse and gender in my PhD. So while I was researching, I was really thinking, content should be made out of it, because full-fledged film, a full-fledged web series gives it a chance to reach the larger audience, the mass.
Yeah.
The concept itself was very new when Lodja was happening.
Yeah.
And I remember suddenly the whole city started talking about verbal abuse, because the day Lodja got released, probably the day before also, people was not realizing that this is an abuse, that you
Yeah.
can hurt other person through words. You can create psychological trauma through abusive words. And
Yeah.
abusive words doesn't only mean slang.
Yeah.
Abuse at any level.
Absolutely. You hear so many bullying cases these days.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think that is the reason I'm particularly proud of Lodja, and I'm also proud of the production house, the director, and everyone associated with this thing, because it was not easy to believe in this show. It was not easy to accept a writer's concept who is coming and presenting to the table that I want to do something on verbal abuse. So I think that was something very bold of the entire team to do.
Yeah.
And it was a great hit. Unless and until a content becomes hit, there's no chance to come up with newer things which you really want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, the producers, the houses, everyone thinks, oh, it will be very heavy. People will not relate to it. But often what happens is people relate to heavy things if you can present it in a way.
Yeah.
Because they really need to see what they are feeling, what they are
Yeah.
experiencing. I remember my inbox got flooded with mostly women. Also, there were men who came up with their real life stories, and they said that, for a long time we couldn't name it. We couldn't name what was happening with us, or often we would think that something is wrong in the relationship, but we couldn't understand how to put it on anyone's table because I'm not getting beaten, I'm not getting sexually tortured, I'm not getting deprived of food, shelter, money, anything. But then something was not right, and I didn't know how to name it, how to articulate it. So I think Lodja gave that voice to many men and women
Sure.
in the city.
Yeah.
So I think yes, that is the reason
But is
Lodja
there
will be
any-
very close to my heart. Yeah.
Absolutely, I understand. But is there any strategy that you use or think of while writing
Yeah.
to address the social change without
Yeah.
appearing to look very preachy?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the audience, like you said, if you go to a seminar, they don't take this very well. So, do you follow any, like,
Yeah,
sort of
absolutely. I
pattern?
think, see, first, I think sometimes some preachiness works because when a new perspective is coming, audience likes to be taught sometime. But sometime audience doesn't like to be taught because they think we know, you come up with something and we'll participate.
Yeah.
So I generally get satisfied if I think that what I was trying to say has been conveyed more than 60%. That's my rule. Then I think I negotiate the rest. Because 40% you have to negotiate with the channel, with the platform, with the producer, with the director, with all the resources associated with the project. And of course, you will have to think that, again, this has to be a hit because everyone is ready to try something new. So I have that onus to pay them back also.
Yeah.
So I think the thing which I generally follow is I always try to be simple. In my narrative, in my writing, I always try to be as simple as possible. My dialogues are generally, like people talk all around us, so that audience, when they see, they think that, okay, this is something to my next door girl, to my next door boy,
Yeah.
or it is happening around me. I'm
Yeah.
a part of it.
I got it.
So I
yeah.
think one is simplicity, one is mundaneness, because I've always believed that the best story comes out from the mundane every day. I mean, the best stories are embedded in the mundane everydays.
Yeah.
So all my characters have always been very, very simple, very ordinary, very mundane. But then they travel some extraordinary
Yeah.
journey. They realize, they become a different person. So I think yes, two things I would say: simplicity, mundaneness. Another is generally I believe in victory. I mean, generally, I don't like my characters to end in a note where she or he or they, can't get to a point. I always like my characters to win the journey because I feel that gives audience the hope,
Yeah.
the aspiration,
Yeah.
and the courage for them also to start their own journey.
Yeah.
I think this generally works for. I think the honesty and the simplicity are the very basic seeds,
Yeah.
which I try to follow in my script.
Absolutely, absolutely. So your husband is a political figure, and you've also openly said that you've never taken advantage of the position. What does independence look like actually in day-to-day life? I mean, it is not easy to balance
Correct.
marriage, politics, and integrity. So,
Correct.
how do you do
Yeah.
that? How do you navigate?
Neha, when your family member is a political person, and politics these days have taken a shape which is very difficult to deal for any family member, I would say, irrespective of party, irrespective of what position they are in. It is difficult for a family member to deal that. Now I know that with political power, lots of things comes very easily, and it is hard to stay with a person and to exercise that I will not allow them to reach me.
Very hard.
Very hard. But still, again, I've reached a point where I know that why people think that it is not what I show. Because yes, this is true. Because I share a life with a person. And if that person is privileged in some capacity, yes, I can't deny that a portion of the privilege spills on me. Yes, I can't deny that nothing spills on me. Yes, a portion spills on me, you know. Two people coming to me thinking that I'm his wife and trying to give me two privilege, that I can't resist. That is their doing. What I can resist is not asking for any favor,
Yeah.
going everywhere alone, not using his name. What is possible for me is that, you know, doing and keeping my work journey very separate. So when I got Sahitya Academy Yuva Award, I knew nobody from the central people. I got the call and I went there and I took the award. But I remember when I got the state award, yes, there were people who talked about thing that okay, she will get the state award because this and that. So the only hope I had within me, that thank God I got the
Yeah.
national one before this, because in
Yeah.
2018 I got Sahitya Academy Yuva, and in 2021 or 22 I got the state Bangla Academy. So thank God I got that before.
Yeah.
But yes, those are moments I think when you really feel crushed and you feel that okay, this is not something I was expecting, because I really try hard to live a different life. But then, yes, I have negotiated with it. But firstly, Neha, I always knew writing is something which is not possible for somebody to, you know, generate overnight. I know people act in different projects because because they are somebody to somebody. I still believe, although acting is a very noble art, but I still believe writing is something which is impossible to do.
Yes.
I know what I've done, what I'm doing, and if I'm getting work, because that is because I have done the previous work with all my heart, with all
Yes.
my integrity, and people know that
They
dealing
recognize
me
you. Yeah.
is never difficult. I mean, dealing me can be difficult actually, but that is dealing me. I never come with any baggage of anybody else, whoever that person is to me in my life, because my father was also into politics and I've grown up into a very political
Yeah.
environment. But what I've really learned from my parents, and my father actually taught this, you know, he used to work in accounts department, and he was always into politics. But for the first time when he fought the election, I think I was in class 8, and I remember lots of flowers and everything came in the house, and we were waiting that when the house will be empty, because then we are going to do some party. Because for me and my Didi, it was some kind of a celebration. So it was night, people have gone out from the house is then empty, and my father called us, and we are saying, we said like, you know, it's already late, we need to order something, we need to do some party. And my father said that I have something to tell you. And then he said that, have you ever seen so much flowers in the house? And we said, no. Have you ever seen so many people in the house? We said, no. And then he said, like, always remember, everything that you will experience from tomorrow morning has an expiry date of 5 years. So never ever believe into those flowers, those people, those love, those respect. Believe whatever you had till yesterday, and that is your true life. So, you know, I think that one thing I have never forgot, Neha.
Stayed with you.
It always stayed with me, irrespective of politics.
Yeah.
Even today, when my show gets hit, and the next time I enter a party and 3 people recognizes me and comes to me, I never forget that this also has an expiry
Yeah.
date. The moment one content will be a flop, I know those 3 people will not recognize me, because I don't belong to them, they don't belong to me.
So, women screenwriters often talk about or write about strong women. But I
Yeah.
know that you've actually said you want to write about manipulative, deeply flawed, and morally messy women.
Yeah.
Okay, someone who's not liked very much. So, who is that woman living in your head?
I really want to write about manipulative women, because till a point of time I always wanted to write about righteous women.
Yeah.
Now I'm done with it. And I truly believe that, you know, women are also human beings. And for survival, you need to be manipulative.
And
You
actually,
can't-
that is real, right?
that
I
is
mean,
real,
yeah.
yes. I mean, because in today's world, you can't live without being manipulative.
Yeah.
By manipulation, I don't mean something which is very evil, but something which helps you to sail through everyday life within a crowd.
Correct.
Just when you asked, I suddenly remembered one of my aunt. We used to call her Major Mashi. She was a divorcee. And in my childhood, I remember that how divorce was a great taboo, especially in old Bengali families.
Yeah.
Divorce was a great taboo. And I remember whenever she used to come to any gathering, there were all, you know, the gossips, the hush-hush thing going on. And she was a person who used to always exert her agency and choice, you know, like the window side I need the greater piece of the fish. Anything that a woman has always been taught to say no to. she used to exercise everything, and I think she was heavily trolled. I mean, at that point of time, we didn't know the word troll,
Yeah.
but now when I think of, in families also, people used to get trolled. You know, I probably would sometime like to write about Major Mashi, because these kind of characters, I think they existed, but the society always wanted to suppress their agency, their choice.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are the characters I
Well,
would
you know,
like to
from
write
their
about.
perspective, actually, if you see, they've crossed all social.
Correct. They don't care about anything.
Exactly. So
And it's also their mode of subversion, probably without knowing. They don't know that they are subverting, but it's their mode of subversion.
Absolutely.
And now when I think of, I really think that, you know, at that point of time, she was exercising these choices. She was getting trolled by the family members and she was not caring about it. So yeah, that is something to look up to. Yeah.
So, what's something in this industry does to women writers that wouldn't survive in a single day in any other workplace?
You know, tomorrow, if I really feel that this industry is not giving me enough kick, I can just open a grocery shop tomorrow morning. So,
really?
yes, because I'm a person, because writing will never stop. I have the white page, I have the pen, these days I have the laptop, iPad. Writing will never stop. But if writing for some industry will continue or not, that will depend upon a lot of things. Industry works in a way where if you don't know how to snatch your rights, if you don't know how to talk about your rights, you will be deprived. That's a standard thing.
So, anything interesting you would like to share from your experience in teaching and in radio? I mean, there's any experience
I think,
that
see, Neha, I think all the professions have made me who am I today, and all the professions have contributed in my writing, because that has shaped my the inner soul, the inner me. So I think radio was the first thing which taught me how to communicate with the greater audience. Radio has taught me discipline. There were very, you know, less resources. So the radio jockey had to do everything. So I think learning so many things together and to become multitasking, I think radio taught me that. Teaching taught me, I think, a lot of integrity, a lot of humility, because every time I teach, be that in school, be that in American Institute of Indian Studies, where I used to teach for foreigners. I've also taught foreigners in Jadavpur University. I've taught MPhil scholars. So every type of teaching have made me realize that I am a student myself. So I think teaching has always made me more humble. And every time in every classroom, I have learned a lot, because when students come up with question, I think you learn a lot. And I think in teaching Bangla to foreign scholars, you know, I have a book called Mede Chele Dhora, Bangla Bhashaয় Lingo Boishommer Rajniti. So it is a book on the elements of gender discrimination in Bengali language. I think that book would have never happened if I would have never taught to foreign scholars. Because, yes, because, you know, we talk our mother tongue, the native language, in a way where we don't really question it, because we have learned it instinctively, intuitively. But when I went to teach Bangla to foreign scholars, who not only doesn't know the language, but they also doesn't know the culture. So it's just like a blank board, the white slate, right? So they used to ask questions which were very weird in our sensibility. And that made me think many times about my own language, you know, how it has evolved. It has evolved. It has the gender discrimination thing, because we think that in Bangla, at least, the pronoun is she. So it is a gender neutral pronoun. So that's why generally we consider Bangla to be a very gender neutral language. But I think because of them, I started looking Bangla from a different lens. And then I went into the etymology of the words, the proverbs of the language, and I found that no, it has a lot of gender discrimination in it. So yes, I think teaching Bangla to foreign scholars has gifted me the ability to write that book.
So in the Hoichoi series, Noshtunir, I hope I've pronounced it right.
Yeah, correct. Noshtunir, yes.
So you explored the messy, real-world aftermath of the Me Too movement within a family structure. What challenges did you face while writing?
Okay, so when I was writing Noshtunir about Me Too, I did a lot of research, you know.
And was that emotionally very exhausting?
That's what I was about to say. Yes. So correctly said, because I think that was the difficult part, not the writing part. I mean, writing part was difficult because of this. Because when I started doing the research, first thing, Neha, what you get to realize is many things which we don't realize that they fall under the Me Too thing. and they actually do. Like for example, many kind of relationships, we don't realize it's toxic, we don't realize it's
Yeah.
abusive, but then there are layers, right? And when you will talk to survivors, when you will talk to people, when you will do research, many things will start coming to you, and you will realize, oh, this thing happened with my friend, oh, that thing happened with me too, oh, this thing happened with my cousin. That is very exhausting to realize that probably all women have gone through something or the other in their life. So yes, I think Noshtonir 1, 2, both were very exhausting to write. And also, this whole thing about the protagonist who was Opu, who constantly tries to trust her husband, and every time she fails, and how initially she stands against the other woman, and then the other woman dies, and then she realizes that, oh, she was right. So that enormous guilt, that enormous, trying to make it correct.
Already it feels so heavy.
Yeah, it feels so heavy. So I think, and also when I write, for me, I generally can't dissociate. That is not my process. I think every creative resource has their own process. For me, I generally embody the feelings. For me, I generally embody the, character. So yes, it was exhausting, but it was rewarding at the same time,
Yeah,
because
sure.
again, many people, many women came forward and shared their
yeah.
stories. So yes.
So you went viral dancing with Nusrat. So what was that? Was it spontaneous, or did someone had to convince you to do that?
This was a song of Rock to Beach too, and one of my very dear friends, Zenia Sen, she has written the song. She wanted her friends and everyone to come and dance with it, and so I said, okay, I'll come. But I really was not planning to dance with Nusrat. So I went there and I said, no, I can dance with you. I'm not going to dance with Nusrat because she's the star and she dances, fantastic. But then Zinadi and Nusrat and everyone said, no, let's come dance. And I said, okay. And I used to learn Odissi back in my teenage, but I left dancing for a long time. But what I can tell you is, like, I enjoyed the moment and I'm very proud of the moment.
Yeah.
So that is what I've learned, that if you are proud of something, if you want to own something, just own it.
yeah.
Don't think about what others are thinking about you.
Yeah, I can totally understand, because even some years back, if someone complimented me and I would be like, no, it's okay.
Correct.
So but now it's like, yeah, thank you.
Because I think, in Indian tradition, we have been taught
yeah,
not to own compliments.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is what our training has been always. In spite of admiring the Indian culture, I think staying within that boundary,
Yes.
we can own it. We can own it with humility, but we can
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you made some really bold choices. And how do you handle the fear of societal, backlash? Or so, do you ever think about in those lines?
I would not say that I really thought I will rebel against the society or something. As a kid, as a teenager, as a young woman, I always took choices which were not really going exactly by the norm of the society. But slowly, when you're a person who doesn't always go abide by the society rules, you'll start getting backlashes, and you'll start negotiating it. You'll start learning how to negotiate it. Once you start learning how to negotiate it, when you start negotiating the things, then you don't have any fear to rebel against the society. If I think the society is saying something correct, I will accept it. Till a point of time, I was extremely impulsive, and for that, I think I've paid a lot. So slowly, I've learned that,
all of us, when we are young, we are.
Yeah, so I think slowly you learn that you can't be so impulsive. And now I'm a mother, so I'm slowly learning patience every day. I've really never thought about things that, and I've really never bothered about what society will say. I've always bothered that if my conscience will be satisfied, if I will be a happier person tomorrow by saying this loud. I truly believe that whatever I say in my content, I take the onus to say that I practice that in my life.
Wonderful.
And if ever I can't, I suffer. That I can say. Because I'm a human being, because I stay in a system, there are moments when I can't practice what I really want. But what I can really say this loud to my audience, that if ever there's a moment that I can't practice what I've told loud in my content, in my interview, anywhere, I suffer genuinely. That suffering, there's an honesty in that suffering. So I take onus of that.
So just out of curiosity, but Lodja, you said that a lot of
Verbal
pe-
abuse,
yeah, and many women came forward and spoke to you. But was there any backlash also? I mean, did you have? I mean, everything comes with good and bad.
I
Right?
think
So-
Lodja, I have really didn't get any backlashes directly. Yes, there were people who were saying, okay, now suddenly words are also abusive. Oh my God, then how to talk to people? Now you
Yeah.
can't talk to women.
Yeah.
And then they were saying, then which one is verbal abuse, which one is not? Yes, there were discussions like this, but I don't think I got so much backlash. Rather, I would say people really thought that this was very important, and people thought that they now know the correct articulation of what they were going
They took
through.
it well.
Yeah.
So my last question, looking back at your unexpected pivot into cinema in 2018, what is the single greatest lesson your journey has taught you about trusting timing, saying yes to unexpected opportunities, and letting life surprise you?
I think I'm still learning.
Yeah.
My learning is not over yet. I still follow that path and I let life surprise me. But yes, till 2018 or till 2020, as you grow old, you become weaker as a person. We need to accept it, that the kind of risks that I used to take earlier, today I can't, because I have a daughter, I have a family. And back 5 years back, I could have left anything instantly if I'm not liking something. But today I really need to check if I have enough money to survive the next 2 years, and then only I can leave a project. So this kind of negotiations I have also done over the years. So yes, so I can't say that I'm the same old rebel as I was.
I
have
won't call you weaker also. I mean, it's just you
Yeah,
made
I think
different
it's
choices because you
yeah,
have.
I think it's maturity
Yeah,
also, because
exactly.
you can't really walk away from everything.
Yeah.
And also I think it has also taught me, like, walking away is not also the correct choice every time.
Yeah.
I was a person who used to walk away from everything. So slowly life has also taught me that how to stay in the system and do your work. Like I was telling, that if I can convey 60% of what I want to, I think I have done my part. So I think yes, timing, if you say, I have always trusted life with its timing, because life has given me hard times. I've gone through, because I choose to talk about it, that's why I'm saying also, Neha, because your show is a very important show with which probably I will be able to connect with a larger audience, that from the outer perspective I look very confident, very successful, but I would like to tell audience who are suffering, probably I was into massive depression. So life has given me light, life has also given me darkness. I suffered a lot over a couple of years, but then I came out of it. So I have trusted life that if I'm suffering today, there will be light tomorrow. What I have always tried is that I have to engage with life to search the light. I can't sit passively. Life will not bring light to me just like that.
Yeah.
I will have to engage with life constantly and to see what it is providing me today on the plate.
Yeah.
Life will give me the raw materials and I will have to cook today's lunch or dinner. So I have seen life in that way. And till now, I will say life has not betrayed me in any way. And I believe life doesn't.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It's great learning, and I'm very proud of you. And please continue your good work.
Thank you so much, Neha. I'm also very proud because the kind of questions you asked were difficult to ask and were difficult to answer.
Yes.
But I think, your very calm presence
Thank you.
helped me to come out with my truth, with my inner soul. So thank
Glad.
you very
Thank
much
you.
for
Thank
having me on your show.
Thank you.
Today, Samragi taught us that true feminism is about inclusion, not negotiation. Most importantly, she reminded us that life doesn't betray those who engage with it fully and tell their stories with unwavering honesty. If this episode moved you, like, share, and subscribe. Until we see you next time.